Hello, everybody. Lovely to see you. I'm here today with Sandra Dean, a beautiful figurative artist who has a beautiful soft touch and lovely gentle colours. And you'll see in the background there. And welcome, Sandra. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Vicky.
Lovely. So I'm bringing Sandra in today because she's a member of the artists, the 18 artists who have contributed to the Come Eat With Me exhibition. And yes, I've been banging on about it. I'm so thrilled to be part of it myself. And Sandra introduced me to the group and actually helped me to get the opportunity. So thank you for that, Sandra, because it's
Oh,
amazing. So much more than we thought it would be. And
it was, yes, it's been
yeah,
an exciting time.
yes, it is. That it's going to lead to more things. So on many levels. So I'd love to talk to you today about your art, your background into art, because I do love your style. How did you come to develop your art where you are today?
When I was a small child, I was always interested in drawing and painting. I had Asian flu as a child of about 12. And in the last week of being made to stay in bed, as you were in those days, my mum allowed me some watercolors and I drew pictures from Lady and the Tramp, and that sort of started it off. My grandfather painted as a sort of a Sunday painter, and my dad had a love of old books and would always go into secondhand bookstores and look for books. So there were art books at home that I was able to look at. So that really developed my initial interest in art.
That's
Um,
wonderful. Mm,
Pursued through my life in, at various times.
mm. I think that a lot of us start in childhood, but we don't always have such a positive environment to put it into and our encouragement. So that's good. So what did you do once you went to school, and did you go to college or anything? Yeah.
Yeah, when I was 14, my dad said, "What do you want to do as a career?" And I said, "Well, I'd like to be a vet or otherwise go to art school." And my dad, in his wisdom, talked to me about becoming a vet. I don't think he had much confidence that I would last the 7 years. And so we opted for art school, which I loved. And I got a 1 day a week pass at 14 and went to Gravesend Art School as an initial introduction to see if I really would enjoy it. And then I started there full time at 15 to Gravesend Art School, which unfortunately closed when I
Mm,
was around 16 or so. And then
mm.
I was transferred to Rochester. But initially, my interest was at Gravesend. I had a little go at pottery and sculpture and fine art and sketching down by the riverside. And of course, there were life classes, which I was allowed to go into at 16. And that introduced me to figure work and portraiture, which I loved.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, there seems to have been a lot of opportunities to do figure drawing back in the day, whereas it's not so popular now. So, how did you incorporate art into your life? I know for me, it was difficult when my children were young, but I've always maintained painting portraits and doing commissions all the way through my life. And at times I have been a professional portrait artist and commissioned, for books and illustrations and things. But other things always took over being a woman. So how about you? What did you find? How did you incorporate art into your world?
Well, I love being a woman and have loved being a mum. But I've often said lately, I'm going to come back as a man because being a woman brings a lot of problems with time, and you don't have the time or sometimes and the opportunity to pursue your passions, of which art is one of mine. So what happened really? I left art school. I went into um, window dressing in Bromley. I did a few odd jobs because having been to art school in a fine art course, I wasn't really ready to take any up any particular career. I hadn't really been trained for anything in particular. And I ended up in psychiatric nursing and took my registration in the nursing and did that for a few years. Met my husband, got married, had my son. And then my husband being a cook or a chef, as he was then, we ended up in outside catering and catering for weddings and that sort of thing. So that took up all of my time. So there were many, 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 many years where I wasn't able to paint. I wanted to, but I just couldn't find enough time or
Mm.
energy to do that.
So how have you come to it now? Now that obviously your son's grown up and everything, what brought you back to it now?
The passion to do it was always there.
Because you've
Uh,
painted for quite a while. I'm saying now, but you've actually been painted for quite a while, haven't you?
yeah, about the year 2000, I decided that was it. That was it. I had enough of catering and I bowed out a little before that, actually. And I was able then to find the time to paint. And I enrolled in adult ed in Gravesend, and I went to life drawing classes and day painting classes, and gradually eased my way back into painting, and uh, the rest is history, sort of thing, really.
Well, you've exhibited in quite a few different areas, haven't you? And do you like exhibiting your work? I know most of the artists on this exhibition have exhibited elsewhere. Is that something you enjoy?
It's a lot of hard work exhibiting. My prime aim always has just been to improve myself, to
Mm.
try to improve my craft. I haven't been so bothered with exhibiting, although I've done a couple of solo exhibitions, one in Suffolk and one in Ramsgate, and I have gone into open exhibitions at various places through the years, but I haven't courted fame, if you like. I've just really been doing my own personal journey
Mm.
into
So
art.
how does this exhibition fit in with your style and your approach to art then? You mentioned portraiture, and I know you do figurative art. So it's about creating an icon and a portrait. How did that fit in with what you do and your approach?
My grandmother was very spiritual, and so I've always had a great interest in churches and different religions, an interest in various Eastern religions. I find comfort in cathedrals and churches. So I have that side to me that drew me to this project, as well as the painting side. I love painting women because they're curvy. Um, I was offered to paint a disciple, and I chose St. Jude, patron saint of lost causes, which I felt was very suitable to me, really, in a funny sort of way. But then I thought, well, I wonder if they want an angel, because I happen to believe in angels. I certainly hope that there are angels, and I certainly hope that there is a life after this. So that appealed to me greatly. And I asked if there was an angel that I could paint, and there was. So I was very happy with that idea, and that's what we did.
Mm, yes, and I love the style. It's a very feminine picture amongst a lot of male apostles.
Yeah,
Um, for those of you who haven't seen the exhibition, the idea is it's based on Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, and the apostles are there. They're all men with Jesus, even though some people think James is Mary Magdalene. But let's just say they're all men. So they've been approached as men. And the rest of the display is other significant characters and personages in the story that led up to that time when Jesus was crucified and Christianity began a mission, if you like, on his ministry. So when Sandra's talking about an angel, she's talking about, was it Angel Gabriel? You
that's right. Angel
yeah.
Gabriel, yeah.
Yeah, and all of these icons have had gold leafing on them to create the halo. How did you do that with your angel?
I had to incorporate wings, which gave me pause for thought. I had to think about that one. So I decided to bring the wings in cobalt blue to match the dress or the apparel that the angel is wearing. So mainly, apart from skin tones, the painting is gold and this cobalt blue, which I felt would be a suitable colour. And the blue is edged around the edge
Yes, the
of
wings go down, don't they?
the
It's the only
circle.
one that does that, and it's quite lovely.
Yeah. I didn't have, I would have liked a few more hours, as a lot of artists said they would have liked a few more hours
Yeah, me too.
to do a little bit more to it, but I was pleased with it as far as it went.
And I
Um,
think a lot of artists can always do that anyway. We can all go back, and unless we've gone off something, sometimes you do something to death and you've had enough of it. You don't even
yeah,
like it anymore. But
yeah.
sometimes, most of the time, I think artists always want to improve.
We
Hmm.
never know when it's finished, do we? We think, oh, should I do a little bit more to this? It's a dilemma really that most artists have, I think.
Oh, yeah, I can understand that. So, what's your overall impression of the exhibition and the table, the 5,000-year-old nation's table? I mean, what about the concept and the actual execution of the exhibition? Is that pleasing to you? Have you got any thoughts?
I love it. I love the setting. The cathedral is wonderful, huge, high ceiling, wonderful. The table is magnificent. It is so big and so shiny and dark. It's absolutely beautiful. I believe it took 10 years to make. I can understand that.
Well, it crossed over between the one jubilee and the platinum jubilee. It was silver and
Right.
platinum. I don't know, but it crossed over two jubilees. That's why it's called the nation's table, because the late Queen dedicated it to the nation.
And anyway, it's wonderful, wonderful setting, wonderful idea, historical setting. It was just something so different, so unusual, and with a meaning behind it, especially in today's times, I think.
Yes, and how do you think it's relevant to today then? What do you think?
We're very materialistic now, and I just think that we should give more thought to kindness and compassion, which I think is relevant in every religious teaching that I've ever looked at. You should be kind to one another and caring. And I just think it brings something otherworldly to present day that perhaps people are missing now.
Yeah, I think that's a nice way to put it because everything becomes so temporal, and it's the spiritual aspect or the different way of looking and engaging with life that gives it meaning in many ways. So I agree with you. Yeah, I'm very pleased with the way it's gone. We've had a lot of visitors, more visitors than was expected. I wondered. Elizabeth Mellon said that a lot of the artists she'd spoken to have found that using the gold leaf and some of the techniques that because it was a limited project, you had to work within a circle, you had to produce a portrait, you had to have the skills to produce a portrait. And there was gold leaf involved, plus a spiritual aspect or a Christian aspect. And she was saying that some of the artists were saying that this influenced the way they'll go forward. Do you think there's anything that you can take away from this exhibition that will influence your work as you go ahead?
I didn't get the opportunity to do my own gold leaf because of personal health problems in the family. So I would like to be able to have a go at that and maybe use it in my work at a later date. The
Mhm.
thing that I did enjoy was working on the gessoed birchwood boards because I usually work on linen, and it was a very different surface and it was a lovely surface to work on. So I will probably take that forward.
Yes, it
Certainly.
needed sanding down quite a lot to be smooth.
Yeah, a
Um,
lot of work involved, I think. But
yeah, and I've never worked on a circle before, so I enjoyed that. I've never really thought about it. I have considered it in the past. I've seen ovals and circles, but they're not very prolific. And when you see a whole display like this, where a whole huge long table like that is full of circles, rondels, it's just so stunning. There's something about, as I look around my room now, I've got lots of squares and oblongs and rectangles. And I'm thinking, oh, is it because we have square walls that they fit
It's
so easily?
probably, but it is a softer, um, very much softer, isn't it, around? But
I think
I suppose as a painter, we think about framing. I know you wouldn't
yeah,
get very far with framing on a circle, would you? It would be difficult,
it
I
would be
imagine.
a challenge. Yes, it would have to
Yeah.
be non-framed. But anyway, so yes, have a go with gold leaf. I found it quite interesting. I found I have used a little bit before, but not to this scale. And it's I would like to incorporate. I can think of some things already that I would like to use it for. And experimenting is part of growing, isn't it? Developing.
Yeah, absolutely is. And when you think about Klimt, he's the one that sticks out for me for gold leaf work.
Mm.
And his
Mm.
work was beautiful, really, and so different. So
Yeah.
yeah, why not do
Yeah.
that?
And there's lots of colours. I know one for Judas Iscariot, green gold was used, which gives it a different tone to the rest of the table because obviously he stands
Right.
out for his role in that scenario. So
The
yeah,
individual art that was shown, I mean, it was all different. It
mm,
was all wonderful work, actually. It was very, very enjoyable evening when I
very
was
high
there.
standards. Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, Sandra. So I love talking to you. I love your work. You can see some of your pictures in the back, and I know that you've already been published in some books. Which publications have you been in?
The publications are called Sachet Mixed, which is that
Uh,
Sachet Mixed.
oh, yes.
Various, I've been in about five, and that's
Okay. So they're
that.
collections. Oh,
Some,
they're good. So you used a lot of yellow in that one, those
oh
ones.
yes, that one is some old London.
Uh-huh.
That was
Oh,
meant to be a lady in a pub in old Victorian London, and it was pastel, and I thought, oh, I'm just gonna go for it and go mad, and
yeah.
it's called Port and Lemon. So
Okay.
the lemon
Lemon.
lends the guide for the colouring.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Fascinating. Yeah. So people can go and find those books and see more of your work, can't they?
yeah, you
It's,
can get them from
I'll,
Amazon.
I'll
They're
put a
not
I'll
just
put a
my
link.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll put the link down for you. And how can anyone get hold of you if somebody wants to contact you and ask you about your work or find out where you're displaying your work? How would they contact you?
Um, my email address is SandraRDean@outlook.com. I also have a Facebook art page. Can't remember, Sandra Dean. And I have a web page, which I think is SandraDeanFineArt.com.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
I'll put all the details underneath as well.
that's not really up to date. I haven't put any of my latest work in there. I've not
A lot of
taken.
artists say that they're so busy producing, they don't get around to things like the digital world. Yeah, I can understand that. Being a commissioned artist most of the time, I have very little of my own work in my own possession.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's it's painted and it's gone. And half the time I didn't take photographs. I very rarely take photographs, especially if someone's paid for it and bought it. I feel they got some kind of ownership to it. But yeah, fascinating. So those books are lovely. And thank you for talking to us today. There's
Welcome.
yeah, and I look forward to seeing more of your work in future. And I love that particular one at the behind you there, that lady. Is that a finished portrait? Is that something you're working?
I thought it was finished. Having
Ah,
looked at it now, I'd like to just have half an hour just to
half an hour.
possibly, but I
Half.
am pleased with
You'll
it.
go back. It's typical artist. Okay, well, thank you very much, Sandra, and I hope everyone's
Welcome.
enjoyed listening to you and finding out more about your art. And let's wait and see who I talk to next. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.